what I was gonna do. See, I was gonna be typing on this keyboard and turn around and go, "Oh, hello there." Well, oh, it did. Look, it's live now. It just started. So I could have done what I just said I was going to do. It almost would have worked. Let's pretend it just started right now.
We could stop and start it again.
No, that's not an
Okay.
option. Have you ever watched one of these? We don't redo openings or closings or middles. All right, look. Oh, hello there. Welcome to Mazecast, episode season 2, number 3, 4. I don't know. Not very far. I mean, this season's been going on for like 7 years now, but we've only had a handful of episodes. But tonight, we had a spare moment. We thought it'd be a good idea to do a Maze cast, regardless of whether we had anything to say, anything productive to note about the book. So I think we're probably going to end up talking about these hints that White Raven's been giving out on the Abyss, maybe just the Abyss in general. Right?
Yeah, it sounds good.
I didn't know whether you were like technologically silenced some way or just not responding.
No, I was just waiting for you to finish.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think the hints are kind of interesting because it's something new.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to find some excuse to just mention the Abyss and say some positive stuff, because all I ever do is complain about it. All I ever do is, like, if I'm mentioning the Abyss or White Raven, it's because something is on there that I disagree with. And that's kind of true of the show in general. Like, we only ever bring stuff up to, like, shit on it. And it takes for granted all the stuff that's really nice about the Abyss and that the Abyss has done, right? Like, so number one, it's just a nice looking website, right? Into the abyss.net. And I don't have to tell anyone watching this about it, I assume, because I'd be very surprised if there's anyone watching this show who didn't come here through the
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But don't overlook the fact that it's a nice looking site, because all the sites before that were like the big sites that talked about Maze just looked terrible. John Bailey's site was really ugly. I mean, it was just like a collection of email. It wasn't supposed to be an attractive site, but you go now and try to navigate to those emails, it's just horrible. They're not arranged in any way. They're not
No.
just, you're pouring through all these ugly emails that are like 90% irrelevant. And then there was Dave Gentile.
Gentile?
What? Gentile.
Oh, Gentil?
Yeah, him. His website, which was for a long time, the number one return, or what do you call it? At the top of the list in Google. If you Googled Maze by Manson, it was Dave's site that came up. And again, he wasn't trying to make anything beautiful presentation wise. It was just a big
list.
description of the book. And I mean, that stuff was fine just for accumulating information about the book, but what the Abyss's goal, which was bringing people in and getting more people involved and talking, it had to be more than just a big block of text. And I think White Raven did a really good job with that. I mean, it has nice backgrounds, it's organized in a nice way, it has a lot of nice related information on there, other books that you might want to look at, White Raven's puzzle theory stuff. It's you put together a nice website just about getting people together and talking about Maze and whatnot, which had never really been done before, even by other people who are writing about Maze. It was never what what do they call it? What do they call? Is it
Listserv?
No.
No.
It's just a general expression for something that's supposed to bring in a lot of people. Tentpole?
Oh, I don't know.
God damn. The point is, no one had really done it before. It had always just been, here's a collection of information for people who are already interested in Maze. They can see this stuff. And this is for people who have maybe not heard of Maze before, barely heard of it. They can be pointed here. And I think it draws people in to a degree. So that's a really good thing.
Yeah, the maps, and especially the maps and the links are really nice when you're investigating connections. It's really easy to kind of navigate between rooms. I really appreciate that feature.
Yeah, and he didn't put those maps up for a while. I think because he wanted other people to work and come up with that stuff, which I worked well. I mean, that's like, so I did my maps independently, which don't look anywhere near as nice as his maps. But the interesting thing is they came out to be more or less the same shape,
Yeah.
which is, I guess, an important way of confirming that we're kind of thinking about it in the right way in terms of how we divide it up and how we connect. I mean, there's only one way to connect the rooms, I guess, in terms of, the connections are there in the book, but the way that you arrange them and the way you sort of order it, I guess there are different ways that you could imagine it going, but there's only a handful of ways that it makes sense. And that's when Brett mapped out the rooms again on his own without looking at White Raven's maps or my maps. Again, he came up with essentially the same map. And I think that's interesting, and it's not something that would have happened, I think, if White Raven had just put his maps up from the beginning right away. Everyone would have just looked at the maps and been like, yep, got it.
Right.
Especially since there may be puzzles related to figuring out those connections or drawing the connections. It's a nice thing to let people do it. But yeah, they're up there now. And I think, I mean, for those of us who were going to bother to take the time and trouble to map it out, it was nice to have some impetus to do that because they weren't there. But the fact that they're up there now, I think, is very attractive to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really useful. And I think it helps people understand how the map is structured in a way that, I don't know. I mean, it was a revelation to me.
Just thinking of it as a place that can be mapped out is a little, not exactly revolutionary, but I mean, if you just start drawing a map of maze, like here's room 1 connects to these rooms, where do they connect? Pretty quickly, you reach a dead end, or not a dead end, but it's like, okay, this is just a mess. Like there's no way to draw this map without these lines crossing all over the place, is how it seems if you're trying to put all the rooms on one map. The key to being able to draw those maps is separating it into the path, the loop, and the trap, and sort of ignoring the connections between those, or at least not trying to draw them out. And that, I mean, that comes from the Abyss too. It's not that, I mean, essentially, White Raven he certainly invented the terminology. Even conceptually, I mean, everyone knew there's a trap area, all right? I think whether we call it that or something else, that's there. And you can see back on the John Bailey site, everyone knew that there was, if you fell off the correct string of rooms, then you were going to have to go through these other rooms and go back to one and start over. So, I mean, the concept is there if you understand the book, that there's the path and there's the loop and all that stuff. But until you look at it, I mean, because the path also includes a handful of rooms that are not correct, that are not on the shortest path. And it's not immediately obvious that you take all those rooms and call them one section, and all these other rooms and call them the loop, and then all of a sudden everything falls into place and looks nice. It was more like, if you go too many rooms off the path, or if you go off the path the wrong way, then you have to go back to one and go back.
Right.
But, White Raven's terminology really clears a lot of things up. And it's hard to imagine using different terms, those concepts and discussing things. Path, loop, trap, right? It's a core principle.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't take that for granted. A lot of people have taken some kind of umbrage with the way that he did the site, which is like, hey, I've got all these answers, and I'm not going to tell you about them. Come and, whatever. And I've taken exception, I guess, because as his answers have come out, I've been largely like, no, I don't think that's really the answer. But I think indisputably, like, that was what brought people together to the site. Like whether they were tricked or whatever, if he had just said, "Hey, maze is really cool," and no one really knows what's going on with it, but why don't we all get together and talk about it? Look at these cool backgrounds of upside down trees, and my causal theory here. Like, it would have gone nowhere.
No.
Um,
No,
and
and then he makes it a game, and there's points, and suddenly it's kind of competitive, and there's something to play for, and a metric.
more than that, I mean, some people are motivated by that, some aren't. But it was more the promise that there are answers out there that can be by human beings, right? I mean, whether you're driven by the points or just driven by the potential of being riddled. Yeah. His claims were plausible because of his connections with Manson, and because of things like having mapped it out and identifying the 3 layers of the maze. He certainly had a very deep knowledge of the maze, and whether his understanding of how the puzzles work is correct or not, put that aside. His knowledge of the maze and his ability to, talk about, like, statistically, here's the number of pathways in the maze, and here are your odds of making it through by luck on your first trip, without landing at the trap or whatever. And his knowledge is probably unmatched.
Wait, has he talked about that?
About what?
The odds
Yes.
Yeah?
That's on the Abyss. He mentions what the probability is of just taking doors randomly and not ending up in the trap as you're going through the maze.
Oh, that's interesting. I never saw that.
Yeah, it's like astronomically small, the chances that by luck you would solve the maze as opposed to landing in the trap.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the facts of the book goes, he's an unmatched authority, I think, except perhaps for Christopher Manson. And he's had.
Perhaps.
What's that?
Perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, he presumably, I guess I shouldn't say presumably, quite possibly surpasses Christopher Manson, because Manson probably has not spent the last 30 years thinking about this book. I have a feeling that if you named, hey, Chris, what was going on in room 37? He'd be like, 37? Which one was that one? That was the, whereas we'd all be like, 37, yeah, that's the room with.
It's true.
Yeah, so maybe an unmatched authority on maze, bar none. Shoot, now I forgot what. Oh, and he's had all this contact with Manson, right? I mean, a lot. I had found Manson's address like forever ago, and I'd always like, no, I should write him a letter, and I should maybe try to make contact with Manson. But then I always like didn't feel like I had anything worthwhile to say to him, and I still have never written to or tried to contact Christopher Manson. Except that obviously he watches every one of these shows. I assume he's watching a live stream right
Chris.
now. Hi, Chris.
Love your book.
Yeah. Good work.
Fan.
Practical Alchemist. That was a good one too, Chris. But he not only had contacted Christopher Manson, he had essentially interviewed him, got information about the making of Maze. He had gotten some sample pages for what was planned for Maze 2.
Right.
He'd gotten confirmation from Christopher Manson about some aspects of the book, some solutions. So, I mean, I'm looking at all this stuff, and whoever gets there is looking at all this stuff, and it really looks like, oh, wow, this book that we thought was impossible, that, was a curiosity and we really enjoyed, but it seemed just to be a total dead end, like completely different. Completely, it's risen from the grave, and we're really going to try to take this thing apart. And without him having done exactly what he did, I mean, there wouldn't be us talking, there wouldn't be the Maze Hangout, there wouldn't be Mazecast, obviously. Everything goes back to the Abyss. right? So for all the shitting on White Raven that I do, and that other people do at other times, I mean, I'm the main offender, but I'm not the only one. Like, I know I'll maybe say it as often as I should because we all take it for granted, but White Raven is responsible for all the good Maze stuff, right? For all of us being friends and having the good times that we have. Every piece of happiness in my life I owe to White Raven. Like it was a joyless, sad, bleak existence. There's nothing in the world for me. I was teetering on the brink of suicide every day. I would just come home from work and I'd take a gun and just hold it to my temple, and it just I couldn't even breathe or face the day. And then the abyss came along and everything changed.
Wow.
So we should show some appreciation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, every other show Mazecast you're ever going to see is going to be us complaining about something White Raven said. But this one, at least, is about how great the abyss is and how glad we are that it's there.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, White Raven. Good job.
And I think, if you
like Christopher Manson,
appreciate hearing that from you, especially. You read out from you. Oh, sorry, my phone.
Yeah, although I think White Raven, I think he knows. Well, maybe he doesn't. Maybe I've never said it that plainly before. But I think he knows that I appreciate what he did with Maze. He might still appreciate it if I complained less about everything he said.
But that's fun too, right? That keeps things going. If everyone was just on there, if there was no dissent, it wouldn't be very interesting.
It does. I mean, maybe the comprehensiveness of my disagreement with him is a little off-putting at times, because it does, I'm certainly not influential enough in to the extent you can say there is a Maze community. I'm certainly not influential enough figure that my saying anything against White Raven or solutions is going to really change the world. But it does sort of undermine.
Well, you're like maybe 1/10 of the Maze community, so I'm not sure you could say that. Not to mention, I'm
trying to include the non-vocal parts of it, like the people who read this, which are apparently fairly numerous. Like there are a lot of people who are involved, and they read all our comments, and we joke about how low the ratings are on these shows. And really, it's only a small number of people watching these shows. But there are more people watching these shows than we know, if you look at the numbers. I mean, even the shows, if it has like 40 hits on it, who the hell is watching this show? I mean, we're not watching it 40 times.
No.
Most of these shows we haven't even watched once. We're certainly not going to watch this one ever.
That was my favorite part of the first hint. We're going to talk about the hints. Where you went through the old Mazecast. And anyway, the solution was basically there, and you're all like, this is great. What a great idea. And Alex is like, yeah, this is it. Oh, man.
All right, well, let's explain that story for everyone watching this who's not familiar. So, one of the things that's developed recently on the Abyss is that White Raven has started giving monthly hints to solutions that he's come up with that people haven't guessed yet. In the first month, last month, February, the clue that he came out with, and I don't even remember the specific wording of the clue, but it had to do with both the Tower Tarot card in room 20, and then in room 27, where there is the statue. Oh man, see, I can't give White Raven solution.
Okay.
But I also don't just want to give it and attack it for how much I don't like it.
Okay, I'll just summarize. Okay, so the hint was referring to both of those things and saying, you've all looked into tarot cards, but nobody has noticed one important thing about tarot cards. What he meant was that they all have numbers, which he had all noticed and commented upon, but that's okay, because we're going to be positive today. Anyway, but the solution had to do with, well, they were different. I mean, the one in 27 had to do with door 9 being the hermit's door, but not actually trusting that door because the guy wasn't the hermit. And then the tower one, I can't even describe the tower one, but the hermit one was basically about the hermit being some kind of figure that reminded you of the hermit, but wasn't the hermit, so you shouldn't trust it.
Yeah, I mean, even that seems, I don't know if that's more or less charitable than it's okay. But anyway, the point is, so there's a solution in room 27 that has to do with seeing the room as a reference to the tarot card, the hermit. And because the statue in there is blindfolded and maybe some other elements, I'm not sure that I understand completely. Like you're not supposed to go to the door that has the blindfolded hermit over it because that signifies like a lack of I don't know, visual acuity or whatever ability or whatever trait the hermit embodies that suggests this is a wise person that you should be following. This statue that doesn't look like the hermit has a blindfold on is supposed to signify the opposite. That's okay. I know that's less charitable than it could be, but I can't. I don't know how to explain it better. But the point is, the solution, and there's a lot of discontent with it. Probably the loudest voices, though, are Alex's voice and mine. Well, I shouldn't say that. Alex is certainly without bad. And I was more like, well, the problem you've got is that doesn't look anything like the hermit.
Right.
And not looking like the hermit, if the solution works, whether it's the hermit or not the hermit, then I kind of feel like this is a jerry-rigged solution that can account for anything, Plus, it seems like if you're just going to say, don't follow a blindfolded person because they don't know where they're going, like all this other stuff is completely superfluous. So we kind of had a problem with the solution. I went back and watched the Mazecast episode we did on room 27, and Beals did an incredible job of giving the exact same solution. And I mean, it's right down to saying it's the hermit, me questioning why it doesn't look like the hermit, and Beals saying, well, maybe it's supposed to represent the opposite of the attributes of the hermit because it's young instead of old, and all the differences between it. Like everything was right there, the exact same solution. And neither Alex nor I remembered it. And when Beals gave the solution on Mazecast, Alex was like, oh, I love it. You nailed it. That's it. Exactly right. And I was like, yeah, I mean, you've got to be right. It's got to be the hermit. That's got to be what's going on. But why doesn't he look anything like? So I escaped more lightly than Alex did. With Alex, it was a total flip-flop of position where when Beals was saying it a long time ago, it was like, yeah, right, excellent solution. And then White Raven said it. It's like, what are you talking about? What's this bullshit? I mean, in all fairness to Alex, though, there's a million things like that I've switched position on too. Certainly in that same direction of early on.
You vehemently discredit and hate on solutions that you yourself proposed a year ago.
Right. I mean, because there was just a time when you get positive feedback from the things you suggest, it's very easy to just keep going.
Yeah.
And anything you see is a connection and then a plausible explanation. I'm like, yeah, got that one. Looks like the early days of missing out things and getting puzzle points. And we're like, yeah, got another one. We should figure it out. Counting those chair legs. Look at circles and lines. We can do this stuff, man. No problem. We're going to have this solved any day now.
Oh, my God.
Go back and see. I have no clue which episode it was, but there was an early episode of Mazecast where I hypothesized because I was so proud of the progress we made so quickly that maybe we could have even solved the riddle in room 45 if we'd been given an opportunity without having the answer. And that is so fucking ridiculous. Like I don't know how well, I mean, that's just the way it is. When you believe that you've got this sudden insight into how the book works, right? And that all the stuff you're thinking about is real and you figure it out, then you just get a false sense of your, I don't know, intuitive abilities or something.
Yeah.
Which I think, I mean, honestly, everybody who's tried to give a massive, like, what I want to say, like a comprehensive solution to Maze, whether it's White Raven or Dave Gentile or Hidden Mystery, I think there's always some element of that where I found so much cool stuff. All this other stuff that makes sense to me is probably right too. I think I've got this book really figured out. And it's not, it's not clear, it's not certain that, well, it's pretty certain that Gentile's wrong. It's certain that Hidden Mystery is wrong. Let's politely say it's not clear that White Raven is wrong. Maybe he's right. He's got most of the. Maybe he's mostly correct about the things he says. But it's easy to find it plausible that you're understanding everything when you've got this book that everyone was roadblocked on for so long. You start making some progress, especially if the only person that is there to judge is other crazy maze people who are happy to sign on to anything that makes sense.
Right.
And at the same time, when I have a solution that makes sense to me and it doesn't make sense to other people, like rationally I know, that means it's probably not a good solution. Like, you're probably wrong. You probably need to move past it. But like, in a particular instance when that happens, I'm just like, fuck all you people.
This is right. How can you not see it?
Like, yeah, right. Like, I wish I had some smarter people to talk to, because I know that they would agree with me.
You're thinking.
God, why is everybody so stupid about me except for me? I can't. And that's okay. So his most recent clue has been about room 8.
Yeah.
And probably should have had the text up. We could have just read it. But it has to do with the sign in room 8 that has sign written on it with the lowercase I and the bowling pin next to it. And it doesn't have, I guess, much more to it except to say that you can consider those two objects by themselves, forget about everything else in the room. There's a solution that involves just those two things. And I don't remember how he words it, but he notes that there's some kind of structural.
I'm going to get it on my phone, then I can read it.
Okay. Well, do you have it?
What's that?
But you don't have it yet?
Yeah, I'm almost there.
Why didn't you tell me to hold on if you didn't have it yet?
Okay, here it is. Okay. Here's the hint. Hint for March. This is the one that we have not figured out yet. Room 8 has a sign, which is very sensibly labeled sign, except, of course, for the lowercase I. Ignore that the sign is pointing to 31. Manson uses arrows and pointing inconsistently throughout Maze. Sometimes the pointer points to the right door. Sometimes it means follow my solution. And sometimes it is a red herring. The context of each riddle determines the use, which is good. Otherwise, we would all just follow the pointers and Maze would be easy. In most of the rooms of the house, visual grouping and or symmetry is fundamental. And here the sign is grouped with the bowling pin. This is the entire puzzle. Nothing besides the sign and the bowling pin are required. The puzzle has 2 steps. The first is to associate 2 things that are alike. The second is pretty obvious. That's it.
Okay. And none of progress has been made being a to pay attention to in that room, right? Like, it seems on the face of it like that's a pretty precise and helpful clue. But not much has been made of it yet. I think it's been pointed out, who knows, maybe originally by you, probably, just about how the shape of the lowercase I, you got like a stick shape and a circle thing, is kind of echoed in various parts of the room. There are a lot of parts of the room that seem to have similar structure, but who knows what to do with that yet.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought that up in the context of what I was just saying is because I sort of ignored the clue because I know it's just going to lead to a solution that I'm going to not agree with. But the idea of structural similarities started making me think about some things in the room, and eventually I had this realization, concept, idea, whatever, that if you thought about what the room looked like before it tilted, remember room 8 is the tilted room, it seems plausible that there would have been like a stick or pole shaped object in each one of the corners by each one of the rooms on the side, because you've got the barber pole and the bowling pin on the left hand side, which presumably didn't move when the room was tipped because they were already there against the wall. The candle would have been standing up, so it would have been by the door to 12, and you kind of have to take some liberties to say that the umbrella is down to where the table has fallen. So you and the room in the door in the middle, which I think is door 29. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. It would. Well, let me say, all the rooms then would have an object associated with them that starts with the letter B, except for the door to room 12, which has the candle on it, candle by it, which starts with a C, which I took to be one of these odd one out solutions. Another term and concept that comes from Light Raven.
Right.
The room in the center, room 29, the B object associated with it would either be, we know before things fell that there was a table up and a bowl on the table, which I guess most reasonably, if you just stood the table up from where it's fallen over, it would be in front of the door to 29. If there was a bowl on the table, then it would be in front of door 29. Or the B object could be the single bulb mentioned in the text that's over 29 and that is connected to the light switch beside the door to 29.
I like that one better, to be honest, because I feel like the table is pretty far in the foreground to be.
Well, right. It would only be associated with 29 two-dimensionally.
Okay.
Like, you have to imagine where the stuff would have been sitting when it turned up. I mean, it would be like in room 4, the axe being in front of those two doors.
Right.
But in any case, whatever. The point is, and I thought that was pretty compelling.
Yeah.
And some like, yeah, okay, maybe responses. And Ben was like, yeah, I don't know. I think it needs some work. And I kept my mouth shut about it. But on the inside, I'm like, you fucking idiots. You're telling me not know that this is the right solution. This is what the room is about. It's simple and it's oh, hey.
Oh.
Hey, Ben, I was just swearing about you.
Only good swears, I hope.
Well, I didn't use my best swears. No, I was talking about that room 8 solution I had that you thought needed work.
Yeah, I was very positive about that solution, I thought.
Yeah, not enough. Well, what I was talking about is essentially how people get irrationally confident about their solutions and how it happens to me. Like, I know that if I give a solution and other people's reaction is, no, I don't think that's right. Like, I should.
I think it might be right.
Right. I mean, that's not the greatest example because everyone wasn't like, no, that's garbage. Forget about it with that one. But I felt like to me, I look at that and I'm just like, yes, absolutely. This seems to fall right in line with the puzzles that we know. Like, I just feel like that looks so right. And fuck you for not feeling exactly the same way.
Yeah.
For only meeting me like halfway on this. That's so unreasonable. But I know.
I completely agree that you are enthusiastic about that solution.
I mean, the other one that I sort of felt that way about was the Morse code in room 21 with the 4 dots and a dash, the 4 dots and a dash, bushes and trees. And the thing is, I know other people heard that. They look at the same thing. They say, maybe, the dots aren't the same size and they're not aligned. So I don't know. And I know that I should defer to what a larger group of people thinks. Like, you can't just write your own sense of whatever. But I'm still like, fuck you. Come on, the answer's 44. You got the Morse code for 44. Ah!
But is there anything in Maze that a large group of people are going to agree on?
Yes.
Most people admit that the room 45 solution is as it's commonly understood.
There was
The hit were in 29?
Yeah, 29, 1, and 45. That's about it.
And even 1, there's a little disagreement.
Genteel does not count. I mean, yeah, like World 1, I think, is the gold standard, but it's one that I'm not sure is met anywhere else. And no, I mean, you're right, they don't. And even in the case that I use as the example every single time, room 7 with the missing eyes on the wall, where it seems to me like, what more does anyone want? Like, still, people are not all on the same page. So, you're right, not everyone's going to be on the same page, but I would think with a solution on level with even room 7, where there's some disagreement, and even that might be overstated. I don't know how much disagreement there really is. Like, Andrew Plotkin thought it was a bad decision. That's it. That's the only person I've heard say that. And I think he was like not all that invested in seeing the solution as good. Because I
don't like it either.
Oh,
You don't like that
Nah. No, I don't know. Looking for eyes that are covered up seems fairly arbitrary to me.
Well, I'm not saying you would a priori say, wait a minute, without even looking at these eyes, I think I figured out where the solution's going to be. And I mean, I'm not trying to say it's like a good puzzle or whatever, but whatever.
And you're just trying to say that Manson intended it as a puzzle.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
It's obviously intended because there's so much stuff going on to cover up one eye or the other, to display one eye or the other, and there's so many pictures that you can. It's like there's 3 pictures where that's happening.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it seems there are 3 left eyes covered up and 3 right eyes covered up. There are 3 of them on the left-hand side and 3 of them on the right-hand side. And there's stuff like the lamp stem going in front of the one eye. And it's just
lamp, and then the rest is like being cut off by the edge of the page and stuff.
Yes.
And the people show profile.
Mm-hmm.
Do those count? Are you counting profile shot?
Yeah. Yeah.
If there were a picture of a cyclops, would that count as a hidden or missing eye?
I don't think so. Not if the eye was in the middle of their head.
Right.
It would disrupt the left-right pattern.
That's true. If Cyclops is missing its eye, we don't say that's missing either the left or right eye.
We don't need to get bogged down on room 7. The point that Ben is insane. Andrew Plotkin's a jerk.
I just don't believe in solutions to puzzles.
No. What this is about, Ben, is
I don't see how you can find an upside down door in a room.
Where in the directions that you're allowed to turn the book upside down?
Yeah, like, that's cheating.
If you go turning books upside down, you can find anything you want.
I was actually looking at 20.
We've been doing this because my Stacey.
Who's talking now?
I talked to her.
I missed some of that connection issues.
Okay, I'm just going to finish what I was saying. I was looking at 29 the other day because we were looking at room 28. And room 29 is connected.
Okay.
And I was has anyone sort of tried to figure out, because there's all those different signs that mean, flip it over. There's the spatula, there's the leaf, there's all those different things.
There's the
And I was
key.
sort of trying to figure out if they could have meaning beyond that. Like a leaf that is turning and falling is dead, and that's one of the bad doors. I don't know.
No.
I remember all the things I was thinking.
Is there a spatula anywhere else in the book? Because most of these symbols on the signs are repeated somewhere, like the salt and pepper shakers labeled SP. And the bottle, certainly, that's...
I don't think there's the spatula anywhere.
Yeah, that's...
And the
so that one's the odd one in. It's the one over the one unnumbered door. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's actually going anywhere.
No, I don't think that they mean anything else. I think you're in genteel territory once you've found the solid solution of pointing to flipping the page over, and then you start to say, yes, but what else is this trying to tell me? I think we've got that one.
I feel like you're straight off topic.
Yeah, well, I came in late. Where are we in relation to the main topic? Also, what is it?
Main topic is White Raven and the Abyss are good. They've done a lot of good things.
Oh, yeah. Mazecast wouldn't exist without them.
Right, exactly. So despite whatever disagreements we may have with, everything White Raven says.
No, when I'm curious about what the state of possible knowledge is about a room, the Abyss is first place I check.
Yeah, where else would you go?
I mean, there are other resources out there, but it's the main one I would check.
I mean, where are you going to go? Genteel site?
I would, check
Well,
my
if
own
you had
copy
like a
of
few
Maze.
hundred hours, you could go to Mazecast.
Yeah, if you go to Mazecast and watch the Mazecast associated with the room, over the course of those 3 hours, you will find out what the state of knowledge was like 2 years ago
Mm-hmm.
when we were talking about the room. That's my endorsement for Mazecast.
Alex is going to be so mad.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are going to hear that endorsement.
So, I mean, we went through like 10 tangents though to get to whatever we were talking about when you came in, because
Yeah.
I think it was just talking about the overconfidence that stems from not having feedback, rational feedback, or just not paying attention to it, and saying how it's easy to think you've got a good grip on maze if you don't allow people to step in and say, whoa, I think you're wrong about all that stuff there. But the difficulty is it's not like there's some impartial body of like puzzle evaluators out there that you can say like, hey, what do you think of what I'm doing with maze here? You can only talk about it with maze people who have...
But it's not really puzzle evaluation exactly that we want, because, like, you show some people who are heavily into puzzles examples of actual known puzzles from Maze, their evaluation will not be positive.
Right. I mean, it's you had to take like a short correspondence course before you can even start to talk about what's intended or not in Maze, because you have to look before you say this doesn't make sense, look at all this other stuff in here that is absolutely what we're supposed to take away from the book, and you have to evaluate everything else we're saying in light of that.
Yeah,
it's not easy. Billy,
this is kind of close to literary interpretation than to usual puzzle solving. We're trying to divine the author's intent, basically.
That's what Greg was saying, and I think that's a really good point, actually.
No,
I mean, there's always an aspect of that in working out puzzles.
Greg is saying something different. Greg is not... Okay, this is like literary interpretation in the sense that we're asking, what in looking into the author's intentions and idiosyncrasies, it's maybe somewhat more like analyzing a particular author's literature than solving puzzles which are typically made to be understood by their audience. But that's not what Greg is saying. Greg is saying, like, who even cares what Manson intended, right? Just, like, look at this and then make of it what you will, like it's a sunset, or,
Well, in a way, it is.
Look, no, I mean, that's like, there's no problem with somebody doing that, but that's something completely different. It's not like you can say that and people are going to say, oh, yeah, that's the way we should be solving maze. We should just be ignoring what was intended and like, just write down what we feel about it.
Honestly, I think Barry has possibly the best approach of any of us in redrawing maze.
He has the most successful paradigm for solving maze.
I think, considered as art, his puzzle solutions are far ahead of any of the rest of ours.
Yeah. He's got every room down, too. Yeah, it's true. God, are we even saying anything positive about anything right now?
I'm positive about the events.
Yeah. Oh, right. We're sweet.
Yeah. Do you want to be positive about things in general?
No.
I like the art in maze.
That's too much of a strain. We can't be universally positive. I mean, we're struggling to be positive, even about the one thing that we said we're going to be positive about.
I think White Raven's doing a great service to the maze community.
No,
a lot of the maze community exists because of him, even.
I mean, the only reason we can like straight-facedly refer to it as a community is because of it.
Right.
Well, there's been a maze community before, although I guess that had kind of died out.
Yeah. At least as far as I know, there was no online meeting place where people were still talking about maze before the Abyss. You just see an odd mention of it here or there, and someone might pipe up and say, oh, yeah, I love that book. Did anyone ever figure out what was going on with it? No.
Yeah.
The hints are kind of interesting, though, because I think
White Raven's recent hints, I have less positive to say about those, I'm afraid.
It's interesting because maybe you guys just it gives us insight into what he thinks is cool.
It does.
He thinks is important about me, because these are the hints that he's choosing to share. He said quite a bit in that last one about grouping and symmetry and all that stuff, which probably tells us a lot about the solutions.
Is that
I haven't seen yet.
Sorry, this is a tangent, but is there a Tintin poster on the wall behind you?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool.
It's actually one big one and like 4 little ones.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
In the original French, I think. Yeah, original.
Are you a fan of that there, Tintin?
Dan is a fan.
I haven't read a lot of Tintin. It seems all right.
For a suggest cast once, right?
Yeah, I read a little bit. It was all like early Tintin. It was like I started at the beginning and just started reading. So, I mean, it's hard to say what changes are. I thought it seemed really arbitrary. Like Tintin would just get captured and then like a rock would fall from the ceiling and knock out his captor and he would walk out the door or something. Like there wasn't a lot of attempt to make Tintin's actions directly responsible for the outcome of the plot. It was just like whatever happened, Tintin was just kind of float around, and in the end, the bad guys would get caught.
It's sort of straight up adventure, I think. Sort of a straight up adventure.
In Uncle Scrooge comics that came out later, right? I mean, that was before them, wasn't it? Okay, sorry,
No.
we're way off. We're way off.
I think our audience likes the tangents.
Okay, good.
Our vast audience of
So,
40%.
talking about Carl Barks, it wasn't always Uncle Scrooge. I think he did like Donald Duck comics and stuff too. But I'm thinking of the Uncle Scrooge comics in particular because those are the ones I read and those are really good. I don't know whether those came first or Tintin or whether they were out around the same time or what. When did Tintin come out?
Compared to Scrooge McDuck?
What's that?
Compared to Scrooge McDuck?
Yeah,
I feel like Scrooge McDuck would have been a lot later.
it probably was, but I don't know when Tintin started. When did Tintin start?
I feel like it's around like Second World War somehow.
But that,
a pretty long period, and
I think that's around. Oh boy, I could be off by decades here, but that's not far off from where Scrooge McDuck came from.
Oh.
first appeared in 1929. That's Tintin.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That's actually earlier than I would have guessed.
This is how we're going to stay positive.
I'm talking about something totally unrelated.
Nothing wrong.
Examine all the different posters on my wall.
And Scrooge McDuck. Ben?
Oh, no, I should. Let's see.
Oh, that's
You
what I
were
was.
talking about the Karl Barks run, especially?
Yeah.
Why did you like Scrooge McDuck particularly?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't read Disney comics. The only reason I've read that run is because it's praised by so many people. The Karl Barks run.
He basically unified the whole Scrooge McDuck mythology. They took a bunch of diverse, inconsistent storylines over the years and put together into a...
Did he create Scrooge McDuck? I think he might have.
I thought that... Let's
It feels like we
try
should.
to find the year on this.
You're using the internet, not a book, right?
Right. Yeah, he created Scrooge McDuck, and then later, where is it? He created Scrooge McDuck in 1947. Oh, but that was as work for hire. So we should really credit the Walt Disney Corporation.
That was a good hiring job
Yeah.
by Walt Disney. Okay, so yeah, Tintin was out long before then, was
Yeah.
almost certainly an influence then on Karl Barks' work. No, Karl Barks, his comics are great. I'd heard about him forever, and I didn't check them out because I'm like, what are the chances that these are going to be worth reading? Walt Disney comics, like I couldn't imagine, even if they're better than your average Walt Disney comic, like how good can they really be? But after hearing them talked up enough, I eventually got a collection of Karl Barks's Scrooge McDuck comics, and they were great. They're funny. They have good stories. I mean, they absolutely hold up. It's not just like, well, this was pretty good for 60 years ago. I mean, they were solid comics. I'd highly recommend reading Karl Barks's Scrooge McDuck comics.
All right.
That's it for Suggestcast.
I was gonna say.
Next week, we're going to be reading Karl Barks's Scrooge McDuck comics. What else?
Start that up again. That was a good idea.
Maybe we should.
Every 6 months when I get a chance to.
And that's more often than we have been doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's do it. Everybody, that's my suggestion for tonight. What do you guys give your suggestion before we close this off?
Oh, I didn't prepare any suggestions.
Well, it's just
I
like
have a short story. I would love it.
All right,
Eat a lemon.
Now, of course, I can't remember.
They're delicious,
I
and people
can't-
don't eat enough lemons.
What?
That's my suggestion. We should all eat lemons. They're good.
Eat.
Yeah.
Your suggestions are all food related.
I'm kind of hungry when I do video calls.
so just eat it like a hand fruit. Just
However you want, really. If
I
you
have a
want,
suggestion.
if you want to cook it somehow, I guess you could do that.
Sarah's having some audio problems. Sarah's trying to tell us about the short story she wants us to read.
No, it's okay. I'll put in the notes on the YouTube.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can't actually remember the. It has like a long, weird name, and I'll put it in.
Is it House of Asterion?
No, it's not the theory, and everyone's read it.
Yeah.
I mean, our viewers may not have. That's
Oh,
certainly-
yeah. Viewers who haven't read that yet should.
yeah. I think anyone interested in May should read House of Asterion by Borges. You'll
That was
find,
something that surprised me that way Raven said actually that he had not read it.
yeah.
He should.
Well, it just, I
He
think,
has by now.
yeah.
It's a very quick read.
That's about as long as a short story should be, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's what he was doing. Smart cat, that Borges. He was probably influenced by Tintin.
That one was written before he started going blind, right?
I don't know.
Because a lot of his later works were pretty short because he had to dictate them, and
Yeah, whoever was taking it down, they want to write down every word.
Yeah.
So they would just sit there like, yeah, maze, furniture, whatever. And Borges like, you got all that? Yeah, we got it all. I wrote all that on. Can you read it back to me? No, I got it. It's good. I wouldn't change a word. We already sent it off to the presses. It was so good. Oh. Okay.
all right. So in conclusion, The Abyss is a good site, and we approve of it.
Yes.
Yes.
And we appreciate you, White Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate-
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
probably
It's doing great things.
it is. It's unfortunate. It sounds like he's gonna die any day now from these heart problems.
Ew, that's a bit
That's
downer.
not fun.
Yeah.
Well, I said that it's. Yeah, well,
You're preemptively mourning his death, but
no, I was saying. Never mind.
okay, yeah. White Raven, Vincent would be sad if you died. So would I.
Yeah, there you go. That's the positive.
Yeah, Sarah's not speaking up here.
Oh, I
mean,
would be very sad.
That's a little interesting.
I was hoping that I was exaggerating the severity of his heart problems, although I guess I don't really. He's not completely showing his cards on that, but I guess it does seem like it's pretty serious, because he's mentioned it for a while now. But I guess he had to have surgery, right? So I guess it's got to be fairly serious.
Well, I'm not going to challenge White Raven's decision to not release his medical records.
Well, I will, for one, say that it is cowardly. It was a cowardly decision by White Raven. Not
Well, we don't know the full context. There could be other stuff he wants to hide.
That's a good point. I mean, it's still
I
cowardly.
promised Manson that he wouldn't.
Oh, good God. No, it's not cowardly. And no, I hope the White Raven's better than I'm pretending he is for the sake of some kind of joke I thought I was making. But we don't really know. I probably shouldn't be. Right.
We talked for 1 second about the guide puzzle.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything to say about it, but I just kind of want to talk about it.
Okay, I think it's the Minotaur.
We already voted on that, so that's
Okay.
already established.
It does seem funny how that puzzle is just kind of drifted off to the side.
Yeah.
I guess just given up on trying to find what White Raven's talking about in room 43.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that whatever it is, it's not going to be as convincing as the other things that suggest that the solution is the Minotaur.
Yeah. I mean, this is the case where, like, I was trying to not be negative, but I mean, what can you say? But that at this point, I just don't have confidence that it's going to be anything other than something I'm going to hear and say, no, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's a real thing.
Right.
It
And the fact that somebody has
couldn't
some
obviously
solutions
be
like
wrong.
that isn't bad. I think I glitched out there a bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, what I was trying to say is that I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody proposing solutions that don't really make sense to other people. Like, Maze is
That's good.
a weird book to find.
Good for me.
Yeah, it's hard to find good solutions to puzzles in Maze. If you're putting any effort into proposing a lot of solutions, most of them are going to fall flat.
That's true.
That's kind of the nature of the task.
Well, I feel like the reason why I'm interested in these clues is because the guide puzzle is really what I care about, even if it's going to be disappointing. I do care about it, and it seems like it's something that White Raven has talked to Manson about. So it seems like, even though it's something you may not like, it's something that could maybe consider confirmed. And so, I don't know. I feel like these hints are maybe going to help us figure that. Seems like it will help us see how he thinks.
I just think so much of this would be unnecessary if Manson were just able to give public statements directly.
Yeah.
If he had ever given like a single interview where he talked about solutions to Maze.
Yeah, and he's probably.
I mean, he probably gets pestered by crazy people constantly.
Oh, I think, yeah, he almost certainly.
That's why he's averse to talking with the particular crazy people on Mazecast.
Yeah. And it's hard to say whether giving any kind of input would decrease or increase the amount of insane inquiries he would receive.
I think it would decrease it, but not to zero.
I don't even know. I mean, it might just clue people in. Hey, if we bother a bunch, he's going to give us some answers. But
the book's been out for like 20-something years. He could just say, okay, here's everything that was going on with it. Done. I'm not sure what he has to gain from keeping parts of it hidden at this point.
Well, I don't think he has anything to gain financially, but I think still there's some pride in the legacy of the book, which it may well be that
I would feel embarrassment rather than pride if I were him.
What's that?
I would feel, I think, embarrassment rather than pride.
Well,
like that, I guess it being unsolvable is not, to me, the positive aspect of the book.
It might be preferable to it being solved and having solutions like Room 45, though. Like the way
he'd feel like, okay, if he reveals everything that he intended to put into it, that might make it look bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, maybe not necessarily that. That's one possibility. Another is just that the continued interest in the book has been due to its unsolvability and mystery.
Yeah.
So even if the puzzles are okay, if he released the solution, people would probably stop talking about it fairly quickly.
Yeah, we'd maybe do a couple more Maze casts just talking about what we'd found out, but it wouldn't be a major ongoing thing.
So
It's just all about how many Maze casts get in.
Well, I'm using that as a proxy for just general fan interest on the internet.
Right. Mazecast has long been the barometer for his puzzle interest in general, various works.
We should do an episode about some of his other books.
What's that?
We should do an episode about some of Manson's other books.
Yeah, we've done that. We've briefly mentioned his other stuff, but we've never
focused. Let's do an episode about The Two Travelers. I have a copy.
Isn't that a kid's book?
Yeah, it's great. There's an elephant.
I mean, we could do about his non-puzzle children's books. I don't know what I'd say about them.
Well, you could talk about how much you liked the elephant. I think we could fill out an episode.
If we're going to talk about his other books, I think we probably want to do Practical Alchemist.
Where the Veils I Told.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a copy of either of those, but I might be able to find one.
Yeah, there's a few interesting similarities and themes. I don't think it tells us anything, but
It might.
Practical
It's not wrong.
we reference a lot, and now we talk about alchemist clues when we're talking about the text mentioning something in the picture for no reason, other than to make a connection, right? Because that's like 95% of the text in Alchemist does not help you solve the puzzle. It just makes an oblique reference to something in the text, which is something that seems to happen in Maze, although, of course, the inability to say for sure what's going on in any given room makes it difficult to say whether that's all that's going on with a particular statement. But it at least seems to be something that goes on in Maze a lot. So I think they could be useful in that regard, saying like, oh, this is the kind of stuff that Manson does.
Yeah, Rails I Toad is kind of like that too, right? I mean, those little stories, there's a lot in there just to sort of convey or to hide really one thing in each.
Yeah. And a lot of times there's a lot of circuitous phrasing and stuff in the stories that in order to make an oblique reference to the words that you're supposed to guess, which you see some similarities there sometimes with things in Maze. There are a lot of rooms in Maze where we look at that wording and it's like, this is so weird. It's like they're trying to avoid saying something, but we don't know what we don't know what they're trying to avoid saying or what they're working around. But it does give you the impression that is what's happening when you look at
savage animal rending with tusk and claw.
Yeah. God, that's so weird.
Yeah, there's something going on with that.
Yeah, it doesn't describe the bear, that's for sure.
No, the bear looks friendly.
I do feel like probably a lot of it can just be explained by stylistic weirdle.
I don't think that's a complete explanation.
Not complete.
Like that
I wouldn't say complete, but I think probably some of the things that we feel like are there and are puzzly are just because he has kind of a weird style.
Well, so that's something that we might be able to get out of reading his non-puzzle books, though. Just what his typical writing style is, absent trying to encode information.
Maybe, although the children's books of his that I've read have not seemed very stylistically similar. They don't have the same kind of ambiguity or odd phrasing. They seem to just be really straightforward.
Is it all children's books?
I'm only aware of children's books he's done other than his puzzle books.
Well, the puzzle books could also be for children.
They could. I mean,
I was given Maze when I was a young child.
Yeah, I was.
It didn't seem like an incongruous gift for my age.
No, I mean, you have as much odds of finishing it then as you do now.
Yeah.
I mean, Practical Alchemist has some obscure vocabulary in it, but I mean, a kid working with a dictionary or the internet could attack it the same way an adult would. I learned a lot of words on Practical Alchemist. A lot of arcane, like 3 and 4 letter words I'd never heard before. Whether they were actually part of the solution or not, a lot of them were in the pictures. Practical Alchemist is, I think, really an underappreciated puzzle book. Like, it's always going to live in Maze's shadow. Mm-hmm. But it took a lot of care for Manson to plot that the path through the book, essentially, the right word transformation, while also putting in other dead-end word transformation paths, and while also exploring all possible word transformations to try to make sure that there was not an additional path through the book. And people have talked about coming up with other words to complete the path. I'm not sure that anyone has done it without
some really questionable word choices.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that everybody isn't doing it. I just think there's so many different words you can make when you can transform anything in that room to so many different ways.
Yeah, there were multiple types of transformations you could do. Wasn't there like add a letter, remove a letter, or change a letter?
Yeah. You will add a letter, remove a letter, change a letter, or rearrange the letters in the word.
Okay.
Any one of those things. So yeah, and some of those rooms are just teeming with stuff. They're just full of objects and images, and sometimes words represent concepts. I think Practical Alchemist really deserves a lot of respect. But then, the answer's there. The answer's in the back of the book.
Yeah.
We'll solve it.
Is...
Like, yep, done with that.
He made that after Maze, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is...
It's the work of a more mature puzzle creator.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. I mean, he had the experience of making Maze. I don't think he was much older. I think it came out a year or two later.
So while he was making it, he might have been thinking, okay, somebody's probably going to solve Maze any day now. Because, you make a puzzle, it always seems easier to you than it is to other people.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it may have been a reaction to the difficulty of Maze to say, let's make something with some very clear rules and in a solvable puzzle right through it. And now we'll even give you the answer in the back of the book. But I don't know. I don't know whether that was a good move or not. Putting the answer back there in the back of the book.
He's probably forced to, regardless of what he wants to.
Out of his hands. They were probably like, we don't want another Maze. Where they're still getting letters from insane people asking for information. Chris, we're going to put the answer in the back of the book. It's funny that he couldn't. I mean, it was published. The other puzzle books were published by the same publishing company. So it obviously had to be on the strength of Maze. I mean, they said on the cover from the creator of Maze.
Right.
So it was on the strength of Maze that they let him publish these other puzzle books with him, but they didn't do Maze 2. I don't know why they would want him to do other puzzle books and advertise them as being from the creator of Maze 2 and not just have him do Maze 2.
Well, wait, when did he want to do Maze 2? How much do we know about that that's not through White Raven saying that he wants it to happen?
I mean, that's a good point. No, all we know, Maze 2 is actually listed online as being like for sale from certain booksellers.
Oh, have you tried buying it?
I tried finding a copy of it. I mean, for a long time, I didn't know that's what it was. It's a book listed. It's called Prospero's Palace, and it's described. It's for some reason the title says Prospero's Palace novellas, and I was like, novellas written by Christopher Manson. This would be really interesting. And I just looked and looked and looked and couldn't find a copy anywhere. And then when I started talking to White Raven, when he was talking to Manson, I said, hey, can you ask Manson what the deal is with this Prospero's Palace? I can't find a copy of it anywhere. And Manson inquired, or White Raven inquired of Manson and answered back and told me that was going to be the title of Maze 2. It was never actually published.
Was it ever actually written?
I don't think so. And this is something I've seen before, though, with books that started being written that for some reason they appear on lists of books for like obscure publishers and things. And they actually, there's another book of Manson's that appears on lists like that called A Dream Book, I think, which I think Manson did finish. Because I think I read interviews where he was talking about it, but it never got published, I don't think. And so I looked around at libraries forever trying to find someone who had a copy of the book, and I think eventually found out it never got published. But God, why did I mention that? Oh, just about trying to find out when he wanted to do it. I don't know if any of those sellers that Prospero's Palace as a book that exists. I guess, well, but it's a good question because I don't know whether he tried to do it right after Maze or if he did it after those other puzzles. Yeah, it might have just been his decision not to do it right away.
Yeah. Maybe he started and couldn't finish it. Like, from what little I've heard about it, sounds like it was a pretty ambitious project.
Yeah.
It runs up something else positive about the Abyss, though, that we haven't talked about, which is the whole Ask Manson thing, which seems to be the only way that we're able to talk in any way that Manson.
Yeah, I complain about Ask Manson a lot on here, but it is better than nothing, which is what we would have without White Raven.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, the bad aspects of Ask Manson.
Right, that's not his doing.
Right. It's not like White Raven is holding Christopher Manson captive.
Letting
No.
him go every 6 months.
Yeah, I'm sure that if he were able to get Manson to have some conversations actually on the record, he would.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if he could have a recorded interview with Manson on the site,
That'd be a big deal.
yeah, you'd be excited about that.
Like even if just he recorded the audio himself and then instead of hosting that, just typed out what had been said, that would be amazing.
Right.
Yeah, direct responses from Manson would be nice. I don't know. Manson could have weird issues about official statements or something.
Yeah, but we don't know everything that's going. We know very little about what's going on with Manson. He may have good reasons.
Yeah, maybe he just considers everything an imposition. Like maybe he just like everything he does is kind of like, yeah, all right, okay, I'll do it. Like everything he does is sort of going out of his way.
It's distracting from his real life's work, which we don't know about.
Maybe it's not even his life's work. Maybe it's just his life. Maybe,
I could release some statements about Maze, but I really need to go get some groceries right now.
yeah, or I mean,
That's legit. You do need food.
he might just be tired of thinking and talking about Maze.
It's true.
And it could be something like maybe like his wife's tired of hearing about it too. You know, they're like watching TV or something, or they're eating dinner, and he gets a call from David Gentile. I can't remember whether Gentile had his phone number or not. Right? Just imagine him picking up the phone and his wife giving him a look if she heard him say one word about Maze. Maybe he's the one who came up with White Raven. Like that's his code word. Can't talk.
I'm just on the phone with a rare birds dealer. This isn't about that puzzle book.
Dave, you need to talk to White Raven. White Raven. Just ask White Raven, Dave. What was that about, Chris? You know,
Birds. This guy's trying to train his pet bird to speak.
Who knows? There's so many things that could be going on over there.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's tired of speaking and doesn't want to speak. If he doesn't want the information out there because he doesn't want people to know, because he'd rather them find the book mysterious.
right. It could be some weird marital situation.
Which
I guess.
like so likely hypothesis. Right? A good hypothesis because it also accounts for the White Raven alias. Explains more information is better. So that'll be our working hypothesis for the moment, is that Christopher Manson's wife is obstructing him from answering more questions. In which case, shame on her.
Well, we don't know the full situation with their marriage. She might be in the right. As licensed internet marriage counselors, we shouldn't take sides.
Anyway. We're due for one.
We know that Chris is watching the show right now. Presumably his wife's not because she has no patience for the Maze stuff. Chris, we're with you. We wish you the best. Stay strong. You know, You got to keep the upper hand in the relationship. Look, just reminder, she's living off May's money, okay? May not like you getting phone calls in the middle of the night from Dave Gentile or White Raven or, us eventually when we get your phone number. But she wouldn't be sleeping in that 20 by 20 leather bed, made out of camel hide and stuffed with bald eagle feathers. If you hadn't written that book 4 years ago, that I'm so far removed from luxury or wealth that the camel skin stuffed with feathers was the best approximation of like a decadent lifestyle. Like off the top of my head. The millionaires sleeping on the same material that monks used to make hair shirts out of.
Oh my god.
Oh wait,
We could be reading the situation all wrong, though. What if Manson's the one who is sick of talking about Maze, and his wife is constantly trying to get him to get back into it? Yeah, these people like your book, honey. You should talk to them.
that seems pretty plausible.
Yeah.
Maybe it's kind of like a Dennis the Menace situation. Not like the
We Dennis?
the old show.
No.
George Wilson is just like doesn't want to have anything to do with Dennis the Menace, and his wife is like, "Oh dear, come on, Dennis just wants to play with." That's what it is. Like he just wants to like read his paper and then go to the Elks Lodge every once in a while or something.
And you're the neighbor kid who keeps pestering him.
Yeah.
Although
he did the store when you guys went to the door. Oh.
I think he just wasn't home.
Well, next time, go to the local Elks Lodge, too.
Next time, bring sleeping bags.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a repeat visit.
I think it was pretty ballsy to go in the first place. I don't think I could have done it. I would have gone up to his door. I couldn't even write him a letter, though, so... I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's not courage exactly.
Next time you're in DC, we're going there together.
It seems like at that point, like the rudeness of your imposition would become a little realer to you.
Yeah.
Not to you, apparently.
Well, I know more now about the extent of his reluctance to talk with fans.
Oh. That's true. I don't know how much we knew at that point. We all liked Maze, and we had Christopher Manson's address.
Yeah, you had the address. I had not even sought it out.
I guess. Is it?
That's what we like about IntoTheAbyss.net. Visit it online today.
Yeah.
Don't visit it online a few months from now. It will have mysteriously vanished.
Months up, does it have?
Yeah. Wait. When is it going away?
September.
Okay.
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah. For clear reasons.
It's like the puzzle points are coming down, right?
Yeah. And he's not going to talk about anything again. He said he would keep doing Ask Manson with people.
Yeah, right. So it's going to serve all the purposes.
Wait. So the comments will still be up. People can post new comments.
Right. He said
what is coming down?
He's just going to stop participating, and he's not going to be doing puzzle points.
All right. Well,
that's the only change, really. No.
I think the
community that he's created will still exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better than I thought.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, it's the confirmed solutions come down. I think the puzzle meter comes down. So I
Oh.
mean,
Take down like the summary of the confirmed solution.
I think so. No, not like room 45. I mean, like for each room, his.
No, is
I
it?
think so.
And that seems all right.
No.
Since I don't really consider those to be that authoritative about what's really going on with the rooms.
Well, it's helpful though. I mean, otherwise you got to read 10 pages of comments.
Yeah. Really, what we need some third-party site that just compiles all the content from those comments.
Well, I was
It's
just
tricky because there's not much.
saying, oh, we need a Mazecast intern who could just like do
Yeah.
that, go through and just kind of summarize everything in the table, and then we could have like that. But I'm not doing that.
Well, how long would that take per room? We've got months to do this.
Oh,
Or actually, the comments are staying up. We have forever, so we can just put off forever.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
oh, hey, my phone is low on battery, so actually,
It's been over an hour, I think. So.
Yeah.
oh, it's been way too long. I mean,
No, at this point, this is no longer. We can't even pretend this is for an audience.
oh, I mean, it was absurd 45 minutes ago.
I
I don't-
one. 25 minutes.
I don't think we don't need to worry about pretending we're entertaining anyone at this point. I was just going to say my phone being low on batteries will at least give a natural and necessary ending point to my participation in the conversation.
We should probably just bring this to a close now.
Okay.
Oh, I want to just let it die the rest of the way.
So we've been Mazecast. Thanks for puzzling in.
Bye, everybody.